Every evening for an entire year, I wrote in a journal about how our family had lived out our values for that day. Sometimes I wrote about what we learned. Sometimes I wrote about a truth I was wrestling with. Sometimes I scrawled down our failures in shaky letters. I decided to share these journals in this Family on Purpose series because I believe it's important to tell the truth.
Hey boys.
So much of our world is built on shiny, beautiful things. We just have to take a look around the internet to see other people doing so much better than we are. And when we talk about things like family values and living intentionally, most of the people who talk about them are people who seem to already have it figured out. Well, I don't. My family doesn't. We are walking into our family values, learning more about them, living them well some days, and living them terribly on others. What I didn't want to do with this series was make someone feel like they could never ever do something like this because they just don't have the commitment. And besides, don't you know who they are? Well, yeah, I know who you are because I know who I am. I am not perfect. No member of my family is perfect. And that means that we did not suddenly become perfect just because we built a framework of values around our family. So I guess what I really wanted to do with this series is just give people an inside look at one family trying to grow and connect and live more deeply into their values. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. I share these victories and the failures and the sorrow and the joys and all that we learned and wrestled with along our journey about ourselves and our faith and who our family was made to be. Readers of Family on Purpose will be able to see that in a very real, very honest way.
Get in your seat.
I know that our victories will be helpful to people, but I also know that they will probably find the most value in the places where we failed spectacularly in living out our values. Because what we don't often get to talk about in our shiny, beautiful, curated world is how hard it is to be a person and to be a parent and to be who we were made to be on a daily basis. It's so hard. And there are so many people who make it look easy, and that can often start to make us feel really bad about ourselves, like we're a terrible parent and we need to do better because we're really messing up our kids and they're going to need so much therapy by the time we're done with them, and we're surely the only ones with all these hang-ups. Sometimes we just need to know we're not alone in our failures, and that's what I hope people will understand by reading this series.
What are you doing?
We don't choose family values so that we can reach a greater plane of perfection. We choose them so we can work them out and sweat through that journey and fall on our knees and get back up and do it again and again and again as long as it takes. We will fall hard and we will rise again. This is the story that isn't told in our world today, and I want to tell it.
Can you do this one? Yeah. Can you do this one?
So I am inviting strangers into the sacred space that is my family, knowing that some of them will not handle our hearts with care. But that's okay, because they are meant to hear the message too. Living is not about being perfect. It's not. The most beautiful pieces of life come from our imperfections. The same is true for every other person on the planet. The same is true for our families. My family is not a perfect family. Sometimes we yell too much. Sometimes we slam doors and speak in a way that isn't honoring, and we interrupt each other and don't listen well, because we're all imperfect humans trying to find our way back into who we are. I'll share some examples of this concept in the next video, where I'll also talk about some of our specific family values and the layout of Family on Purpose. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey.